Hello and good morning. So this morning, or this tutorial that I'm about to share, was inspired by the sigil that I had made the other day. I don't know if you saw my video, but I will show you what the end result looked like. See if I can pull it down. So I created this sigil out of a mantra that had come about from. I had a human design neuroemergent reading with Avery Fawcett recently, and it was so good. I will be sure to link it in the notes. So I created this sigil as a reminder to my subconscious to basically, it's for reminding me that it's not my job to solve the world's problems or to solve other people's problems, because I have definitely been one of those people my whole life that if you have a problem, I'm the kind of person who wants to help you solve it, even if you didn't ask me for advice. And I'm learning just through a lot of self-reflection, therapy, talking with people, that it's not my job. It's not what I'm here to do. So that sigil speaks a lot to me on that reminder. Like when something comes up, just looking at it, I created it to kind of look like an anchor as well. So that way it helps keep me grounded. So one of my patrons, hey Tara, had asked me if I could do a little sigil tutorial on how I do them. This is a method that I had learned from, I want to say it was Jason Louv Magic. I probably said that wrong. But basically what it is you write your mantra or your paragraph or your word or whatever, and then you reduce the letters down to their basic shapes. So I had an incident happen yesterday, of course, with a negative review. And, you know, I understand that we live in a culture where people want to review things and they want to share their ideas and what their first takes are about a product. Well, as somebody who creates things, I have to tell you right now, I have a really hard time with reviews of my own work. It brings up a lot of issues with me. You know, I'm so appreciative if you love it. The best thing for me, and I know that not all creators are like this, but the best thing for me is if you buy something from me, I'm just happy that you love it. You know, tell your friends. You know, that's, to me, word of mouth is like the best way for the appreciation. But we live in a culture where we have Amazon and Etsy and eBay and everything where they're like, oh, let me do a review, 3 stars, so like 2 stars, 1 star, 5 stars. It's like, so our entire process, everything that has taken us as creators to get to this point has now been reduced to just stars on the internet. And, you know, I'd be lying if I said that it doesn't affect me mentally. So today, the reason I bring all this up, because I'm not going to go into the full aspect of it. It was just, you know, something that I've been working through and something that I'm constantly working on. And as a point, I don't read reviews. So I'm happy if you write them for me, if you love them, you know, but I don't read them because I know my mental health really can't handle negative reviews. Because I also know that there's so many factors that go into it. I don't know what kind of day that person was having. Maybe they decided to take out their frustrations on strangers of the internet because they don't think that it matters, but words do matter. But anyway, so this sigil, I decided through some journaling that I was going to make the sigil reflect the quote that came from one of Brene Brown's books, which is the critics don't count, right? So what I do when I do a sigil, and I'm doing this in Procreate, so let's go back out to here. I go with the plus, I pick a new canvas, I have my 6x6 here, and I already have it here. So I have my 6x6 canvas. You can do this on a piece of paper. I'm just using it on here because I might want to do something. I might want to engrave it on another piece of slate. I might want to paint it later. But, you know, you don't have to have an iPad. You don't have to have any technology. You can just use pencils and paper if you want to do this. So this is my paper and this is my pencil. And I'm going to be, first what I do is I will write the mantra or the word or whatever it is that I'm creating a sigil out of. So like I said, the critics don't count. So that is what I'm going to create this sigil for, and hopefully you can see that. And so the first thing that I do with this, and this is from the technique that I learned, and maybe you have a different technique on how you make sigils, and you know, I'm not here to say this is the only way, this is just my way of doing it. So what I do is I go in and I get rid of all the vowels, you know, and then now we've just got all the consonants, right? So then what we do is we just write down, and I'm going to use another darker color so that you can see it. So I'm going to take the T is going to be part of our sigil, the H, the C, the R, and then what happens is when we get to another T, since we've already got a T, we omit it. And since we already have a C, we omit that. But we don't have an S, so we're going to put the S there. We don't have a D, so we're going to do that, and an N. But now we're back to another T, another C, and another N, and then another T. So these are the letters that are going to make up our sigil, is T, H, C, R, D, S, N. So at this point, what I do is if you have a piece of paper, you can fold it in half, or, you know, on here with Procreate, you can go in and you hit Canvas, Drawing Guide, Edit Drawing Guide, Symmetry, and then I just hit Done, because what that does is it's going to give me that mirror. And now this is where we just get fun with it. So I'm going to take this and kind of put it off to the side. So if you have a piece of paper, you know, we're going to start with a new paper here. And then, so with that is a new layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that first letter, which is the T, and I'm just going to start, I'm going to make sure my layer is assisted. Drawing assist. So I'm just going to start drawing that T, right? And so now we have a T. So there's the first letter. And then with the H, you can go in and you can say, okay, well, you know, this is where you just start playing around with what's appeasing to the eye. So now I say, okay, so here's the T, and now we have an H because we're using the top of the T with that. With the C, I could go like this. You know, my brain already starts to go, okay, well, that could be cool because it'd be like a crescent moon, right? So there's the C. And then the R, since these other letters aren't symmetrical, and the C really isn't either, but what you could do is unassist it. And then with the R, I could go, okay, so I have, there's that, but it can also be the D, you know? So there's the R, and then I can either say, okay, well, I'm going to use that as the D, or maybe I'm going to do the D backwards and go like this and give it its own thing. Maybe I don't want it that high up. And at this point, we're using the shapes that come in these letters, but we're not necessarily trying to make it be completely cohesive, right? Because the whole point of it is to be a sigil. It's to tap into our subconscious mind, because later on I might forget, like, this is what the sigil was for, but subconsciously my mind knows when I see it, especially if I'm in that state of hyper anxiety from, you know, some stranger on the internet's opinion of me who they've never met me. I can look at this and say, okay, the critics don't count, or my brain knows what it is even long after. I'm pretty sure with Jason Louv's magic, it's like chaos magic, and he says to like write it down and destroy it, and it kind of like, I guess that's the magic that puts it out to the universe. But I don't practice that. I like to have art that I get to look at as a subconscious reminder. But again, it's your practice. You can do whatever you want, right? So we've got, like I said, we've got the T, the H, the R. You know, and I might start to play around with it a little bit here. And we've got this D. Even though it's backwards, it's still a D. You know, it's still that shape. And now we have the N. And so the N, I can go into it and say, okay, well, do I want it capitalized? Do I want it, you know, like maybe here's the N here. And if I like that, then cool. You know, like if you go, okay, if I can draw an N, up, down, up. So down, And so what I did with my other one, so now we have this like this sigil, right? I don't know why. I've got something over here that's, let me get rid of whatever it is that's in my, oh, I know what I did. Sorry. Because I had like lightly outlined that, it thought that, yeah, there we go. So now we have this like in the center, but this is going to show me that that's where the center is. And if I wanted to, I can make a really big sigil, or you could even go over it and just start playing around with it. This is what I did with the anchor to give me that like feeling. So I was like, okay, I'm going to lighten this. And this is also why I like to use the iPad. But if I was using paper and pencils, I might use some tracing paper just to see how it's going to come out. You know, so I've got the assisted, and I've got another color pencil. And I said, okay, here's my H. And I really love the idea of this being a moon. So what I'm going to do, edit shape circle, I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to actually make it into a crescent moon up here. Because it also, you know, and this is where your brain can really get into it and say, okay, well, the moon is also tapping into that emotions, right? Because as I know, astrology and astrologically, the moon taps into that. It says, okay, well, like, what is the purpose for this sigil is the fact that I'm being emotional. So I like that it's up here. And then the H is now giving me boundaries, right? So it's giving me these like these pillars to say, hey, like, yeah, you could feel this way, but like keep within your personal space, right? And this is where we could go, okay, well, how would it look if we actually mirrored it? You know, so if we did the R and brought it down, and then we can actually omit, ooh, that was a squiggle. We can actually omit that D because we have it here now, you know? And even though, so I do like symmetry. If you haven't noticed yet, I really like things to be in that space. And so then I could bring this down in there if I want with the N, or maybe I want to put it somewhere else. Maybe I want the N to come off of the boundaries, almost like a crown. And this is where you get to play with it, you know, because it's such a, like, it's a graphic that is going to remind you of something, like on a subconscious level. I know they said that before, but it becomes artwork, you know, and it becomes like this reason for something else. Like, you don't need to know right away why it was anymore. And now you could say, oh, okay, you know, or I could do that instead of this, you know. And this is where you just start to play with it. You start to play around with the different shapes, because really what you're doing is you're taking this line, this line, this line, this line, you know, and you're just making them work within a space. So it goes back almost to that tutorial I did of the elements and principles of art and design. So we're just repeating and doing all those things. So now I have something that I kind of like, right? So I'm going to get rid of the red one. I'm going to lighten this down a little bit. And then what I do is I will get rid of my notes, you know, and just say, okay, well, what parts of this do I really like? Do I really think that this needs to come down? Maybe I want to connect it, you know, and just get lost in it. And I think that what happens when we do this is there's like some healing that goes on, because now we're going, who doesn't count? The critics don't count, you know? And I'm like, okay, so, and you can straighten them, you can make them curvy. I like a lot of curvy lines. I like that mixture of both. And so we've got the T, and I know you noticed me going like this, like I could leave it. I could even bring that up if I wanted to, but I don't want to. You know, I kind of like the foundation here, like gives us that base. You know, it can be an ornamental T too. And like I said, we've got this moon, but maybe now I want to actually bring it up and not necessarily make it part of the actual, like, I want to separate it. Excuse me. Because now I'm thinking of this as into an art perspective. And then the R, maybe I want to do the R kind of like bring in my Mercury, bring in the thoughts, you know, so like immediately I see this as Mercury, but it's still an R, you know, it's going like this. And I can't help but see this as saying no. I love that so much. Oh my gosh. This is just, you know, like I said, just play with it. This is how I did the other one. This is how I create any sigil. I did a sigil for Pocket of Peers. That was a whole paragraph, and it was reduced down into just one little sigil, and it was basically a blessing for the deck because, you know, it has 80 people in it, and I wanted to be able, well, not 80, but you know what I mean. It's got a lot of people in it, and I wanted to send out some sort of protection with it. So that's kind of how I went with that. And then, you know, like I said, I think I really... And you could do this, and you could, you know, so here's your T if you want to keep it intact, or, you know, you could even go, okay, I'm going to bring that down, but I like it going through. And so now we've got that. And so I'm going to play a little bit more with it, and maybe it'll appear on a piece of art. But I just wanted to show you how I do it because Tara had asked me that she would like a little tutorial. So here's your tutorial. I'm always game to show you things. I just need to know what you want. Like, I really want to try and do more tutorials. I want to try and share a lot more of my process, but my brain is like a tornado. So unless I really know what you want, left to my own devices, I don't really know what to do with myself sometimes. And, you know, what I think is easy and comes as second nature, it's just kind of like, well, yeah, duh, you know, but if you want to know how I do something, that's why you're here, you know, following my process, doing the things. Like, I am here, and if I have the capacity to share or the desire to share it, I will. There's obviously some things I do that I want to keep close to my heart and secret, but that's okay. We're allowed to do that, you know, so. But again, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm not going to leave those lines around there. But this is to show you how you can do it. You could do a name sigil. I actually did one. Let's see if I can find you just before I sign off. Let me find Pocket of Peers here for you. So Pocket of Peers, here's the sigil. And that is what that means. It says, these are my friends. Keep their likenesses safe from ill will or harm. May their energy be respected and used for the most and highest good. Thank you. And so it is. And that is what this sigil came out to be like. You know, that's a whole paragraph. Or you could do, let's see if I have it in here. I have a sigil for my name somewhere, and I don't know where I put it. It's not just yeah, I don't know where I put it. But, you know, you can take all the letters in your name, your full name, and if you wanted to create a special symbol to sign whatever with, you can definitely do that and explore that. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this little tutorial and that it gave you something to think about, and I will see you next time. Have a good week. Bye.